experiment. Today we have Symeon. What's his last name?
Greek.
Symeon, tall Greek basketball player. And yeah, we have a video for him coming up. A day in the life. Let's play it, Mr. Oben.
Okay, so an average day here, I'd wake up, go to breakfast usually, depending on how my free periods would work, because I like to get some shots up.
Do you have 2 frees or like 3?
I have 2. So I like to get some shots up in between my classes. So if it doesn't work with my schedule, sometimes I wake up early and I go to the gym before, but not so much anymore because it works out with my program. So in between classes, I go to the gym, I shoot. I work on myself, just a little bit. Then I shower, I continue my day with classes and everything. After school, we do some stuff as a team. We either do yoga, we lift, we play pickup. So after that, I do my homework. I chill with some of my friends here in the dorms, and that's about it for a day in the life.
All right, so that was just a day in the life of Symeon Efstathiou. Did I say your name correctly?
Okay, that's pretty close. My name is Symeon Efstathiou. It's Greek, so it's hard.
All right, close enough. We actually shot all those clips like 2 weeks ago. We couldn't figure out
Timing's been rough.
Yeah, the timing's been rough for everyone to get together, but here we are. Excited to ask you some questions.
Thank you for having me.
I'll start off. So, just to start off, you are from Greece.
Yes.
Yes, and you came here to play basketball, right?
Yes.
And to start off, has any college accepted? What college do you know the one you want to go to for it?
Yes. So I've actually committed.
Really? I thought we were under the impression that you hadn't committed.
No. So I got here and I got a lot of interest by coaches I had been talking to over the summer.
Is this your first year? Sorry, last year I wasn't here half the year. Is this your first year?
First year. Yeah. So long story short, I got the coaches that I was talking to come in and watch me during pickup, and I got a chance to talk to them a lot. I organized a couple of official visits to go see different schools that had offered me. But I took one official visit to Brown, and I liked it so much I committed on the spot. So I canceled the rest. Yeah.
And are you into do you want to go professional in basketball or do you want to do academics?
Well,
of course, do both in college. I mean, but what's your main goal?
In college, I want to do both. I love playing basketball. I live for basketball. So the longer I could play and at the higher level that I could play, I'd take it.
That's pretty cool. And but
So
Brown's a pretty tough school.
Yeah,
Brown's really tough.
It is, but because I've always been a good student and I pride myself in that, I wanted to be able to have both at the highest level possible, which is why I chose an Ivy League school.
So you committed to Brown on the spot when you toured.
Yeah.
How many other schools did you visit before Brown? So did you have a comparison, or is it more like a rash decision?
Last year, during COVID, I actually did fly myself here to the States. I did everything alone because due to COVID, there were restrictions and no European could enter without a visa, and they wouldn't give visas out to international people. But I got an exemption by the American Embassy. So I traveled here. I traveled alone because no one else could get one. So I went to a couple of schools. I went to Princeton, I went to Rochester, I went to Bowdoin, I went to Dartmouth, I went to MIT. All those schools were recruiting me last year. But it simply didn't work out due to how I was back in Greece. All the footage they had was through film, and it wasn't easy for them to evaluate how good of a player I am through film because they don't know the competitions, even though I've played in European championships against other countries to represent my country.
Whoa.
Yeah, so
that's cool.
I know, it's pretty cool. It's great experiences. But the only good decision came with, coming to Han, because it opened up so many more doors and so many more opportunities where I could actually end up at the place where I feel like home, which is Brown for me.
And was that your first time coming to the United States? Was when you came over for
No,
by yourself?
I've come to the States a couple of times, West Coast, East Coast, both. I've done like certain summer camps, but I like it here. No place like home, but I like it here.
So what's like the biggest difference? We'll talk about basketball after, but like the big difference just living-wise between here and Greece.
Well, for me, I'd say it's like a culture shock. Like some things are really different. Like the food is really different. The people are really different. But when I'm saying different, I'm not necessarily bad. It's just.
Yeah. Were you from like a smaller town in Greece or like?
No,
a big city?
I'm from Athens. It's the capital.
Yeah.
So it's a lot going on. Big city life. So it's nice, come to Princeton. It's kind of quiet, but you still have an environment with a lot of people.
So then, basketball-wise, what's the biggest difference between playing like in European and Greek leagues?
So I guess this is where I'd say there's a really big difference. Like playing in Europe is a completely different style of playing in the States. In the States, it's more faster-paced basketball, a lot more shooting, because the three-point line here is it's closer in the high school level. So I was accustomed to shooting from a farther distance. Plus, there's a lot more strategy back in Europe. Like you have certain plays that are set and you have to play in this specific way. So it's slower paced, but it's more strategic. And I like that back home. So I'm trying to get, the best of both worlds.
You try to bring what you have been learning in Europe into this American style of play and see what works and what doesn't. Did you always have the idea that basketball would get you end up in Americas?
Take you so far in life, you know what I mean?
Look, I've always loved basketball. Like, I always did it with a passion, and from a young age, I was good at it. So I knew that I'd try to continue pursuing it as much as possible. But it wasn't until my freshman year, I think, back home in Greece, when I actually, I started being recognized, and I took part in the Greek national team. So I was like, you know what, like, I'm actually like a good player. Like it's not just my mom and my dad who think I'm good and my friends. Like if I'm evaluated by pro athletes, by teams, and you understand that, okay, maybe you can pursue this dream, because every little kid wants to become a basketball player, but at some point you make a decision. It's like either academics or basketball or both, but you need to understand that you need to be at a certain level to try and pursue it.
Do you kind of believe that you kind of have to start out being very passionate about something before you take it the full way?
Well, yeah, of course. Like you have to love what you do, or else how am I going to wake up at 6 a.m. to go to the gym? How am I going to use my free period to go to the gym and get more shots up, or, go to the gym and lift? You have to love what you do, or else you're not going to go far.
You were featured in the New York Times.
Yeah.
First, how did that feel?
That
and then
felt
second,
cool.
what did your parents think of that?
So that felt really cool, because, I had...
How'd they approach you?
How'd they approach me?
Just going to email we want to do it?
No, it was nothing like that. So I had just come over here over the summer to play in some live period games, to have coaches watch me and, try and get my recruitment up to speed. So we play our first game. I thought, I played okay. I had a lot of fun playing. And then these two guys, they come up to me and they're like, can we ask you some questions? I'm like, just give me a sec. Our coach needs to talk to us. But after, yeah, sure. And one of my teammates, he grabs me. He's like, that guy is Adam Zagoria. He's like a big, big guy. I'm like, oh, I don't know him. And the other guy, he writes for the New York Times. I'm like, what? Really? So I finish. Coach talks to us, and I go back to them, and I'm like, "What's up, guys?" And they're like, "Give us the list. Like, how many offers do you have? How many this? How many that?" I'm like, "I have no offers."
Okay.
Like, I was talking to some schools last year, but because I was back in Greece, they're like, "Oh, what do you mean back in Greece?" I'm like, I'm Greek. This is my first time playing in American basketball. They're like, oh wow. So the New York Times writer, he liked the story. He's like, wow, look how times change, and we have something interesting to write about. I think like he saw me as something different, and at the same time they really liked the way I played. And if you've read the article, like they have some coaches that they overheard saying, you know, like, oh, I had heard of this guy, but I didn't know he really is what he is. So it was cool. It was for me, you know, a breath of fresh air. I was like, at last, you know, some recognition. Like I've been working so hard. I've been trying to get my name out there. I've been making, you know, highlight reels and posting on YouTube and sending it to coaches. Like the first time I tried to reach out, I sent like 200 emails. 3 Division 1 coaches like replied to me. That was it. And they said, you know what, like one of them was an automated message. The other one was, we're pretty much set for our recruiting class. And the last one, which was Princeton, he was like, let's get to know each other. So that's how it started. And through him, I actually met Coach Stone and the Hunt School here. And through him, I ended up here.
So Princeton kind of recommended you to take a gap.
Yes.
Year at Hunt. I think it's a very smart decision too, especially like dealing with the culture shock you're talking about. You take a year here, transition a little, move on to college.
Yeah. And when you told your parents that you got an article in the New York Times, like what was their reaction?
Well, it wasn't exactly that I told them that I had an article. Yeah. Like my mom was here with me over the summer, so she saw the process and she saw the guys talk to me. They talked to her as well. But you know, when the article was written and you know I read it and I sent it to a couple of friends, they went crazy. They're like, New York Times, you know, like it's not like some local newspaper. Yeah. It's the New York Times. So I was like, yep, I know. So I have like 20 copies of that day's paper back home. It's a good feeling. Yeah.
And I think a big reason they even approach you in the first place is you carry a good energy around you, dude.
Your story's good. That's why I'm surprised you haven't, like you say you post on social media and stuff like that, right? Yeah. Like, so what do you specifically, is it just like just you playing and stuff like that?
No, so like I do TikToks as well. I do stuff like that. Like I have a lot of little kids like back home in Greece, like 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds that, you know, they want to pursue basketball. And they look up to me and they also like text me a lot. I get a lot of like messages and they're like, you know, like, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? How did you get to the point to be recruited? How were you recruited for the Greek national team? How did you end up playing for a major Greek club? Show us a day in your life. What do you eat? How do you train? So all these questions, they kind of, you know, they made me realize that, you know, there are kids that are trying to figure this out, so I could help them because I have fun when creating content and I share part of my life on TikTok and social media and a lot of kids have, you know, reached out and they're like, you know what, like this is helping me a lot, this is opening my eyes, I'm seeing things differently and it makes me feel fulfilled because, you know, I'm doing this for myself but at the same time I'm helping out so many other people.
All right, so that's Symeon, everyone. I'm sure you will continue to compete at the highest level and at Brown and maybe beyond. We'll see. Maybe I'll have to get your autograph if you make it into the NBA. But yeah, for now, that's it.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. Peace.